Welcome to the 4 Pillars of Men's Health, a podcast of resources for restoring vigor and vitality, bringing you top influencers in the men's health arena, case studies of men who have succeeded and how they did it, and cutting-edge teaching on men's health issues from America's leading men's health guru, Dave Skattum. Get ready to take steps towards good health. Here's your host, Dave Skattum.
Hey, welcome to the 4 Pillars of Men's Health. So glad you're here. This is Dave Skattum, and we're starting a 3-part series about a new kind of a testing thing, a blood testing thing that I found through a local guy here in my community, and I'm pretty excited about it because I think it's going to be something that we can all use to prevent a lot of serious illnesses in our life. And I think it's a really good way, it sounds like a really good way to go forward with some really preventative action. And at this point in my podcast, I'm kind of like bumping up to my maximum knowledge. I'm not a doctor, and I don't have any kind of degrees in that area. And so my goal is to help each guy out there get information that they can help to prevent stuff before they get serious illnesses. And I think this is one of those things that I've found that I'm really excited about. So this is going to be a 3-part series. This first one that we're going to be doing today is about the need for this, what it is, this blood test, how it works, what kind of things we should be testing, and how it can help us become better, healthier guys and live longer and prevent some of those nasty cancer and diabetes and different things like that are so prevalent in our society these days. But to preface this, I just want to say, if you are experiencing some severe health issues, I don't want you to think that we are doctors. We have like knowledge in these areas, but if you are experiencing some pretty heavy-duty symptoms, you should be doing this under the supervision of a doctor and making sure that you're clearing all these things and ideas with your doctor. So today, the guest that I have on my show is a guy that I've been fascinated with for years. I've been hearing he has this great podcast that he has a local health food shop in our local community, and he's just so knowledgeable about this stuff, and it's intriguing just to sit down with him and learn all this great information about health and how to live a healthy lifestyle. And his name is Jacobus Hallowijn. And Jacobus, I'm really excited to have you on our show. I'm really excited to be talking about this blood test that we're getting into. So thanks for being here today.
Thank you, Dave. It's absolutely a pleasure, and thank you for your very kind words.
Yeah, you bet. And so what we're going to do today is there's a blood test that you take, and Jacobus has found through his research several different things that you need to do with your blood to get it tested that is really preventative. And so we're just going to talk about that and the importance of it, and we'll launch into it from here. So Jacobus, first, I think, why don't we talk about just kind of the big umbrella, like the process of how this happens. I mean, do you go to a doctor? Where do you get the blood test? Remember, we're not just talking about local guys here. We're talking about people all over the country and world that might be interested in this thing. So frame your thoughts in that way. And so how does this work? Just give us some big picture ideas, and then we'll get into the specific testing and why we want to test for each one of these different areas.
Yeah, well, what happened is I have talked to you about that previously. What's going on is that the company Life Extension Foundation published an article back in 2012 that was based on a 5-year study on older men. And they were wondering why is it, this was a 5-year study on over 2,400 men between the ages of 69 and 81 years old. And pretty much what it came down to is like, why is it that as men get older, we start having issues such as Alzheimer's, prostate cancer, strokes, heart disease, obesity, diabetes. And they said, why is it indeed that these things happen as we get older? Is it just because we eat a certain way or live a lifestyle or we're more relaxed? In a way, as you get older, you should say, hey, the stressful years are done. I should feel a lot better now. But what they found out is that men, as they get older, they have these issues. And so what was being discussed was, hey, what about hormones? And they started looking at the hormone levels of men, especially testosterone, free testosterone, and then out of testosterone, you can look this up, we make estradiol. It's one of the female hormones, estradiol. Yeah. It's it's ESTRADIOL, estradiol. And what happened was that it's one of those hormones that we don't check much. And it is, doctors say, I have seen that 99% of men probably have never heard of the estradiol. If they're married, they may have heard their wife say something like estrogens, but we feel that is like a women thing. We don't deal with that, but actually we do. We are being exposed to estrogen because of our own testosterone production. And so what these researchers found out that as you look at a group of younger men, 25 to 35 years old, that their free testosterone, the total testosterone, and the estradiol specifically, and also the DHEA, are hormones that will decline or change, let me say that way, change as we get older. And so they said, wow, if we look at kind of these numbers in younger people and we look at the numbers in older people, we definitely see a difference. Is there a possibility of a relationship between men's health as they get older, men's health as they get older, and the change in hormones as they get older? And so they came to the conclusion that, yes, if we see that men's testosterone, the total testosterone. So there is a certain amount of testosterone that we produce, and then there is, as the testosterone is going in the bloodstream, there is testosterone that binds to proteins, and there is testosterone that does not bind to proteins. The one that is not binding to proteins, we call it's unbound, or we say it is free, F-R-E-E, free. So the free testosterone gives a very good indication because it's not bound to anything, it's not attached, so we can actually see how those levels are. And therefore, as that testosterone is moving in the blood, it gives us energy, it gives us stamina, it gives us happiness, it gives us a healthy heart, et cetera, et cetera. So what they found out is when they looked at all these numbers, they said, okay, what we see is that if a man has a total testosterone between 700 and 900 nanograms per milliliter, whatever, however they measure it, you'll see it in a blood test. Then that would be the best range for men. Now, if you look at a testosterone blood test, and that is where the confusion comes in, because many men will have the testosterone tested, and then they say to the doctor, how did I do? And the doctor said, everything is fine. You are in the normal range. Well, that normal range, when you look at that blood test, it runs anywhere from about 220, 230 to about 975. So that is a very, very big range, and sometimes even 1,050 or something. So what happens is a lot of men are getting confused because they feel they're putting on weight, they're sluggish, they're empty, their concentration is not that good, the libido is down, the muscles, it's hard for them to put muscle on the body. They just don't see health. And so they tell the doctor, but I don't feel good. And he says, well, you know, maybe you're just depressed. And then before you know it, you're put on medication you don't want to be on, because the problem is not depression. The problem is just that you're wondering, why am I not feeling the way I really want to feel? And so when you look at hormones, and this is what they found out, they said testosterone, if a man has a testosterone of 400, that is in the normal range, but a man guaranteed will not feel great. And so they said, bring that between 700 to 900. Then they said, if it falls below the number 550, then there is an immediate 30% increased risk for heart attacks or cardiovascular problems, and a 24% increased risk for strokes. And so those are big numbers. Yeah.
Hey, Jacobus. So, that's amazing. So you could take this blood test and find out that your free testosterone is low, and do something about it and prevent heart disease. Is that what you're saying? Wow,
that is what I'm saying. When most men are being tested, as we get older, heart disease increases. Yes, we have seen younger people who are runners who collapse on the track of a heart attack, and they did everything right. They were running, their cholesterol was good, and so how come these people died of heart disease? Well, you probably would check their testosterone. Chances are they were less than 550 on their testosterone. And what the report says, it doesn't matter if you are 1 point below 550, like 549, 548. You can be down to all the way 30. It doesn't matter where you range, as long as if that is below 550. So that is really important to know. Now, also what I've seen, obviously, one thing that men can do is do resistance training. Resistance training should help the body produce more testosterone. Now, I'm not saying you will bring it all the way up to 800-900 without doing other things, but you will start seeing an improvement. And again, we're looking at men who, as they get older, may not live the lifestyle they did when they were engaged to be married, when they really pumped themselves up and got to look good in the suit. But really, that they are, as we get older, we live a little bit different. We eat differently. We're a little bit more leisurely. We may not work out. We don't do the resistance training. And all of a sudden, we start seeing the body says, well, I guess you don't need all the testosterone. It doesn't make much anymore. So vigorous exercising, or specifically resistance exercise, where we use the muscles really for resistance, right, any way, shape, or form, that should start showing a difference in testosterone as well.
Oh, yeah.
So then we have the second part, which is the free testosterone, FREE. And so what you do is that should be about 3%. So how much of your total testosterone are we converting into this free-flowing testosterone that has so much benefit to us? That should be roughly 3%. So take your total number of testosterone, and then you say, let's say it is 400, then you say 1% is 4, 3% is 12. So if your total testosterone is 400, your free testosterone should be 12. And so when you are looking at men who are, let's say, so the ideal level is, they say, if we are between 700 and 900, if that's the goal, then 3% of 700 would be about 21, and 3% of 900 will be about 27. So what the test shows, if men's testosterone, free testosterone, is between 20 and 25, you're doing pretty good. So that is an important number as well. So I have men that say, well, my free testosterone and my total testosterone are both low. I said, what are we talking about? And they say, well, let's say my total testosterone is 400, make an easy number, and my free testosterone is 8. And I said, well, you are correct. 1% is 4, 2% is 8, 3% should be 12. So, yes, I agree with you. We got to do something about that free testosterone as well. Then the third one, so again, if you go below 17.3, so 17.3 on your free testosterone, that has an immediate increased risk for cardiovascular problems again.
Wow.
So that's another one that you have to take a look at. Yeah, so it is not just about sex and erections and all that. It is all about overall health. Besides, so many men who have erectile dysfunctions and orgasm problems, many times it is because the heart is not pumping correctly to get that nitric oxide to the penis, right? That's an important thing. So then the third one is estradiol, the one I just mentioned. Right. And as you look at hormone breakdown, you see that estradiol is made out of testosterone in men, out of testosterone through an enzyme that is called aromatase.
Oh, yeah.
And so this enzyme pulls on testosterone and starts converting that into that estradiol hormone. Now, again, the test, you hope to be between 700 and 900 on your total testosterone. If that is the case, your estradiol should be between 22 and 30. So again, if your total testosterone is 400, which is between 700 and 900, and is 800, so 800, half of 800 is 400, and we look at the estradiol number I just give you. If you are between 700 and 900, you should be between 22 and 30. Between 22 and 30, middle is 26. So if you are 800 and your estradiol is 26, you're in good shape. Conversion is fine. So if you are 400, half of 800, chances are your estradiol should be 13 or so. That would be a good measurement. You get it? So half of 20, half of 800, we give half of 26 is 13. So what happens is they found out that if your estradiol gets above 37, that is an immediate 130% increased risk for prostate cancer and an immediate same percentage risk for cardiovascular problems again. So if you're, so men call me and they say, well, I got my test done and my total testosterone is definitely low. I said, well, how low? And they say 400. And then I say, well, and what about your estradiol? Oh, that's in the normal range. I said, well, what's the number? They say 28. And I said, well, I see what you're saying. You are between 22 and 30, but that is when your total testosterone is between 700 and 900. So if you're only at 400, you should be at 13. So if you tell me you're 28, and if we're going to improve your testosterone, we're going to double it to 800, what do you think is going to happen to your estradiol? And they go like, double it. So you go from 29, 28 to 56. And we just said that if you go over 37, you increase your risk for prostate cancer by 133%. And so what I have seen over the years, I have talked to men with prostate cancer who 5 years earlier started on a hormone replacement therapy because they felt that testosterone was low. And then I would ask them, have you even checked your estradiol? And they said, what is that? I said, your doctor, your endocrinologist, your guy that is, he or she who has gone to school to study hormones doesn't even say, we better check that estradiol also. So for some men, we need to work on increasing the testosterone, while at the same time we got to lower the estradiol. So by the time we double that testosterone or triple the testosterone, if a man is only at 300, we may want to triple it. So we want to make sure that that estradiol, if we triple that too, is not getting over 37.
Wow. That is it's almost like it's hard for me to even accept that I'm hearing this, because there's ways that we can prevent these horrible things like prostate cancer and heart disease by just the simple blood test and evaluating it and taking some action that we're going to be getting into in the future podcast, but taking some action that correlates with getting these measurements in the right area. So, so we've talked about testosterone, free testosterone, estradiol, and then there's a couple more. Keep going with this. This is intriguing.
There's a couple more. Yeah, it is. It is. And I need to give you some examples when we talk about the numbers. Let me give you some. Okay, the fourth one is the youth hormone, DHEA. And when you do a blood test, you ask for the DHEA sulfate, start with an S from Sam, sulfate test. So that's the blood test. If you do a DHEA test, it is usually a saliva test. So the blood test, DHEA-S, is the test that showed that the DHEA is a hormone that we primarily make, we men, out of our adrenal gland. The adrenals lay on top of the kidneys. Now, the adrenals produce other hormones as well. We can get that in a future broadcast. Really interesting stuff. But the DHEA helps us to convert into testosterone and into some other estrogens, specifically estrone and estriol. Now, for us men, DHEA is set up to primarily convert into testosterone, but it has to be at a healthy range. So the healthy range, and this was done by a researcher by the name of Stephen Chernisky, Cherniske, Chernisky, Chernisky, Niske, Stephen Chernisky. And Stephen Chernisky did extensive research on DHEA, and he published a book already in 2002 or so. And I had him on my radio show. It was very interesting. But he says that for men, so women is different, men need to have an ideal DHEAS level between 450 and 600. We have a good level between 300 and 450. We are deficient when we get below 300, and we are in a worrisome state, less than 125. And so this is another one where we see that people, men, their mind, they become happier when the DHEA is up. They feel their skin becomes more elastic. They have more energy in general. It helps some of the production of the testosterone. And so this is important as a test as well, simply to know what these numbers are.
Right. Good. So if you want to get healthier, be more vibrant, have maybe tighter, not be so wrinkly in your skin and that kind of thing, that's what this DHEA sulfate will tell you. So that's
correct.
Great. So you had one. You had one more. You had a D3. There's so much stuff here. Maybe we'll have to do like 4 podcasts.
That's fine. I'll be back. No problem. So the fourth hormone test that I want to do, that I recommend men just try, is called the sex hormone binding globulin. Sex hormone binding globulin, and that's abbreviated as SHBG. Now, the sex hormone binding globulin is responsible to help testosterone be taken to the cells. So I consider it like an Uber driver, a taxi driver, who says, hey, I'm here to pick up the package. And so it fills up with testosterone, and it takes it to the cell. That happens.
Yes.
That happens when we're young. So these numbers are just quick. There is a lot of travel going back and forth between the cells and the production of testosterone in our scrotum, in our testicles. But as we get older and we start producing less testosterone, it is almost like the taxi says, guys, are you going to fill me up or not? And so then it is like it starts to slow down the travel, but then when it travels, it is finally full. So it could be, so what we're looking at is you want that number to be around 50 or lower. Yeah. So 50 or lower is a good number. That means that Uber driver is moving back and forth, loading, unloading, whereby if you go far over 50, it means that it is not moving very much. It's waiting for more testosterone before it says, okay, now I'm full, I'm going to go drive. Otherwise, it's not worth my gasoline.
Right.
So the sex hormone binding globulin would be an interesting one for us to find out if indeed we think we're making up testosterone, but is it actually making it to the target? That's an important part.
Yeah. Cool.
And then the last test is the vitamin D3. And so there is a hormone that we make, all of us, from our own cholesterol, and that is vitamin D. There is a vitamin that is made out of that, is vitamin D3. So vitamin D, we all have vitamin D, but it is the sun shining on the skin, penetrating through the skin, and then converting the vitamin D into vitamin D3, which now becomes essential. So there is a difference between vitamin D and vitamin D3. What we test for is the vitamin D3. Now, the research, again, when you go to a doctor's laboratory, they say that vitamin D is normal between 30 and 100. And that means that if you're 31, you're normal. If you're 99, you're normal. Now, vitamin D has shown to have great antiviral properties, which now with COVID is very important. With great antiviral properties. We have seen success with people who take this when they have cancers. And so there is about 26 different cancers that have shown benefits by having adequate amounts of vitamin D. And I'll give you the numbers in a sec. Now, the third one is it makes people happy. It just improves the mood. Number 4, it helps to strengthen our bone. Number 5, it gives us more energy. Number 6, it builds the immune system. And number 7, it does the balanced blood sugars. So it is antiviral. We have seen anti-cancer properties. It helps to improve the mood. It helps to balance blood sugars. It gives you more energy, and it builds the immune system. So those are all important. Now, what I have seen over the years, Dave, is that when anybody comes to me with a cancer, with depression, or with a chronic disease that they just cannot shake, so cancer, depression, and chronic disease, always their vitamin D3 on a blood test is 40 or less. So even though they may be 34, which is normal for a medical doctor, they may say, well, you're fine, you're in the normal range. They cannot figure out why they're depressed, and before they know it, they're going on medication. So I tell people, if you have nothing else going on, get your vitamin D3 level over 60 to be in the safe side. If you are dealing with any of these disorders, depression, cancer, or chronic disease, get your number as close to 100 as you can. You can even go a little over 100. You can go as high as 150, I have been told. So about 100, definitely over 80, but close to 100 should be very, very important for most of us.
Man, Jacobus, this is so incredible. Let's cut you off there. Sorry about that.
No, that's all right. I want to tell you a story. This gentleman, 79 years old, comes to me with stage 3 cancer, prostate cancer.
Wow.
So I said, before we attack it, the chances are you have an estradiol issue and a low testosterone. So we test his testosterone, and so to have all the numbers now, we figured it out. So the total testosterone he had was 415, 415.
Wow.
His free testosterone was about, 415, but he's 79, so in a way it's not bad. He's a rancher. He does a lot of physical work still. His free testosterone was about 2%, 1.5 to 2%, so not 3%. His estradiol was 36, while he was only 415. And then his vitamin D was 18.
Wow.
So to me, everything was the perfect picture of somebody who says, I feel fine, I got prostate cancer. And I said, let's take a look at the blood work, and I found that he fit the perfect picture. So I suggested to him that he goes on the high vitamin D. I said, let's do 20,000 units of vitamin D, just get you out of that hole. I recommended him something to lower his estradiol because he said, if we're going to double the testosterone, your estradiol, we have to keep it down so that it doesn't go anywhere. And then I recommended him to the DHEA, or his DHEA was only 85. So very low DHEA as well. And so I said, you got to go on 50 milligrams of DHEA for the time being. In 3 months, we may revisit it. It doesn't matter. And then his estradiol was 36, his testosterone 415, his estradiol was 36, his free testosterone was 2%, 1.5 or 2%. So I said, also take something. I gave him something that I thought would help also with cancer. that at least can work with whatever therapy you're doing. It's a tree that grows in northern Montana. It's called the yew tree, Y-E-W.
Oh, yeah.
The yew tree.
Yeah, I've heard of that.
Yeah, so I gave him some yew tree capsules. I said, the suggestion is with cancer, you do like 9, and they're very small capsules, 9 capsules a day. So he said, okay. So he takes the 50 milligram DHEA. He does the vitamin D3. He does take something to lower estradiol, and we give him the yew tree. So 3 months later, he comes back to me with a new blood test.
Yeah.
His total testosterone is now 850. 3 months later. His free testosterone is about 2.5%. His DHEA went from 85 to about 375. His vitamin D went from 18 to 92, and his estradiol went from 36 to 34. So that is higher than 30. It was fascinating. So I said, what did you just do? I mean, did you talk to how did you get your testosterone to 850? And he said, I only took what you told me. And I said, that is weird. So I called the guy from the UTIP. I tell him the story, and he says, well, I told you that you has shown with other athletes to increase testosterone by 86% in a month's time. I said, I didn't know that. And he said, absolutely. So this man was taking the UTIP for his prostate cancer, and all of a sudden his testosterone goes up. He started feeling great. His wife said, I can't keep up with the guy. He's like throwing hay bales and riding horseback and fixing fences. And I said, how do you feel? And he said, I feel great. And so now he's 80, almost 81. And when he doesn't take his supplements, that is definitely a very quick reversal of success. I told him, you will have to stay on this as long as you're alive. If it is not for fighting the cancer, we also have to deal with the quality of your life. I mean, that's the bottom line. Exactly. We all want a better quality of life.
Wow. Man, this is so, it's almost like I've been handed a key, a magic key to unlock a path to good health. And I want to let everybody know that part of this 3-part podcast is like an experiment on Dave Skattum, because I've just the other day, went over to our local blood drawing center in Bozeman, Montana, and they drew my blood, and I asked them to take these tests for me, the 2 testosterone tests, the DHEA, estradiol, and D3. And so I'm gonna in a few days I'm gonna know how these margins are for me, and at some point I'm gonna go over and talk to Jacobus, and we're gonna go through this and have another podcast and talk about the results and what kind of things that we can do if some of these are out of whack. What can we do to get them back into the right margins and get me into a healthier place? So I think I'm pretty healthy, but I'm curious to see what these tests are going to show. But man, after listening to you today, just the thing about the proactiveness of being able to take your blood and do this. I think for all those tests, it cost me like $300 or something like that. And in a few days, I'm going to know if I'm at risk for colon cancer. I'm going to know if I'm at risk for prostate cancer and heart disease and all these other things that we've been talking about, and strong bones and a stronger immune system. This is incredible stuff. And so I'm really looking forward to that. And then our next podcast, we'll be talking about that and my specific situation. But you can do that as well. You the people who are listening, you can do that as well. Go to the local blood place and have them draw your blood, get these measurements, and then if we don't get too many people going to Jacobus, I think he's willing to talk to people over the phone and things like that, and kind of go through things with that. So, hey, we're kind of out of time, Jacobus. But if you want to wrap this up with any final thoughts that you have about where we're at, where we're going, and anything we maybe missed or whatever, however you want to wrap this up, and we'll end it this way.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it, and I have to run as well. But I want to let people know exactly what you say. We can take control over this. And there are people who go to a local blood supply or blood drawing place, and they say, sorry, we cannot do this, hormones, we cannot do that without a doctor's prescription. Then go to your physician and say, listen, this is very important to me that we get these blood tests done. And that the doctor will do that. Now, many doctors will say, why do you need to know your estradiol levels? And you say, well, it's one of the hormones I make, so I want to know. You just put your foot down and say, I need these tests done so that you have a clear picture about what it is. And then we start making changes. And then let's see in 3 months' time how the changes have taken effect, if the products you're taking or the lifestyle changes you're making are working or not. Some people will have more challenges than others to get the numbers correct, but it can be done. In any case, you can be in a much healthier range, and I know you're going to feel the difference. So that is really the bottom line.
You've been listening to the 4 Pillars of Men's Health with Dave Skattum. To learn more about the resources mentioned on today's show or listen to past episodes, visit the 4pillarsofmenshealth.com.